Hello guys, it's Erica Hargadon here, certified child sleep consultant with my private practice Babogue. I'm the creator of the Sleep Series, which is an online sleep program based around my 7 steps to better sleep, and I'm a mum of 3. So there's very little I haven't gone through myself on the sleep front with my own little ones, who are not so little now. I promised you that I would come on and talk about a typical toddler routine and what I would kind of maybe look at in terms of the touch points of the day that might be important throughout this age range. Now, I would consider a toddler from about 18 months to 3.5 years of age. After kind of 3.5, I would start to consider them preschoolers, because you're going into a different developmental stage altogether with your child, where they maybe have a little bit more understanding of maybe boundaries, and just they understand more. You know, they're growing and they're developing. So we're talking about a short enough time frame with your little one between kind of 18 months and 3. And a lot of change can happen in that time. You know, you go from a child that maybe is napping once a day for a long period of time around the 18-month stage to a child then who isn't maybe napping at all by the time they reach age 3. So I'll talk a little bit about that throughout the routine. But as I always say, I do like to start children's days at a particular time. You would have heard this a lot in the media around sleep, that you start your day at a regular time and you end your day at a regular time. It's the same for children as it is for adults. They need that framing of the day in order to regulate their little bodies. So I would recommend that you look at a regular start to the day. So starting their day at some point between 7 and 7:30 in the morning. And this really is particularly important where you're experiencing sleep issues with your little ones. So by starting their day, you've got an anchor point, you have a start time. So starting their day between 7 and 7:30. And as I always say, disassociation of feeding from sleep. So take little one from their sleep environment and bring them to a brightly lit living space that isn't associated with sleep for them to have their morning milk, be that breast or bottle. And at kind of this stage, up until maybe 2, I think it's fine for babies to still have bop-bops. They're still babies, you know, and you can take them off the bottle then maybe closer to, 2 or 2.5, whatever you see fit. And then maybe shortly after that, around the 8 o'clock mark, they would have breakfast. So a good solid meal, porridge, really good start to the day, a little bit of fruit mixed through it, gorgeous, nice start. Weetabix, guys, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but a good breakfast to start their day. But if you think about it, from 8 o'clock right through to 12 o'clock is probably a long period of time for quite a busy toddler. So I would recommend that you get out and about maybe in the morning, go to the park, go to the playground, but bring an appropriate snack with you for your toddler. Maybe something not too carb based or heavy carb, because you don't want to take the edge off their lunch. But something with you, a little bit of fruit in a Tupperware box, something like that. And I would offer that around about the maybe 10 o'clock mark. So 2 hours after they've had their solid meal. I would then recommend that there is a protein-based lunch in the middle of the day. So you're looking at lunchtime to be around the 12 o'clock mark. Now that might be early for us as adults, because we probably like to have lunch maybe around 1, maybe even 2. But for a toddler, getting their lunch, that protein-based meal in the middle of the day is important, that 12 o'clock mark. And also it means they're good and full going down for their long sleep of the day. So I'm not afraid of 2 dinners at this age range. So like something dinnery, good meal in the middle of the day to sustain them. And then you're looking for them to go down for their nap, in their cot preferably, in the middle of the day, around 12:30. At 18 months, the 12:30 mark works quite well, but you may find when your child gets closer to 2 years of age, the nap needs to shift to 1 o'clock. So just keep that in mind while you're working through sleep at this age range. Also, around the 18 months mark, you might find that you need to pull napping back from 2 hours to maybe 90 minutes, an hour and a half. And that's something really to watch with your own child. Just because I say it doesn't mean it needs to be done. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just keep a little eye on it and see if it's something that needs to be done. And remember, as your child goes from 2 to 3 years of age, the biological need for napping starts to drop. So yes, you might love that your child sleeps for 2 hours in the middle of the day, but it means then they don't settle till 10 o'clock at night. It means that the biological need for napping is starting to drop off. And that's just something to keep a little bit eye on. And I have covered that in a separate video. So I'd be looking for them maybe to sleep for hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, depending on the child. But up from all napping by at least 3 o'clock, like at least. And I'd look for them to have a little snack at that point. So a little bit of a snack, again, something not too carb heavy, because you don't want to take the edge off the solid meals. And you've noticed that I haven't mentioned any more milk. I would consider 2 milk feeds a day kind of what you'd look at around the 18 months, 2 years of age. So then you have that little snack at about 3-ish. And then again, get out. If you can, get out or have some little bit of playtime or do a little bit of an activity with your child. Keep that stimulation going. You don't want to overstimulate, but you do want them to have that kind of bit of a learning experience. Then after that, you're looking at them having their tea at around 5 o'clock. Everyone tells me this is too early. This is too early. We're not in from work on time. This is just a recommendation. Just because I say it doesn't mean it has to be done. It's just a recommendation. I always found when developing routines with families, 5 o'clock for a tea time works really, really well. And if your child is in childcare, they're probably having a meal around that time. Or maybe speak to your childcare provider around them having a meal around that time. Again, another good protein-based meal, a good meal to sustain them through their night would be amazing. Okay? Then you're looking at them having maybe their last milk feed of the day around 6-ish, maybe 6:30. Again, disassociation of feeding from sleep. So not feeding them to sleep or not feeding them in their sleep space. That they're fed in a brightly lit living space that isn't associated with sleep. Now, parents will ask me about baths. Should my child have a bath every day? Not necessarily. A bath isn't going to make your child sleep any better, any worse really. But if you are having a bath, I would recommend that it's between tea and that milk feed. So in the middle, and then they can get into their jammies, lovely and cozy, and have their little milk feed then afterwards. Again, a little bit of playtime, and I would recommend that there's no TVs in the hour before bedtime, because mobile phones and the blue light off them is extremely stimulating for sleep. It's not actually fully studied at the moment. It is being studied, but so we don't know the full implications. But I definitely see where families eliminate the blue light off TVs, off laptops, off mobile phones prior to bedtime, and in the settling to bedtime there's an improvement in sleep. So no TV in the hour prior to bedtime. And then you're looking at heading up to their kind of sleep area about 20 minutes before bed. So let's say bed is at about 7, and I would recommend that you operate maybe a 4 to 4.5 gap between the end of the nap to bedtime. Now some toddlers need longer, some toddlers need 5 hours, so you have to play around with what suits your child. So let's say about 7. So you'd be heading up the stairs or down to their sleep space about 20 to 7, maybe 6:45, and you're doing teeth, face, hands. You're doing maybe a final wee-wee if they're potty trained. You're putting on a fresh nappy if they're not. And you're doing your little bedtime routine, which I've covered in a separate video, and you can take a look at that. And then into bed. So that is a typical toddler routine that I would recommend. Again, I have separate videos on like the dropping of naps and naps for different age ranges, so take a look at those if you're seeking information about that. I hope you found that useful. If you want to find out more about me, check out babogue.com. Thanks guys.